What's up, everybody? Jeff C here. I'm gonna do my first book review. Oh shit. Another booktuber, dang. We don't have enough of those. Well, there's one more. I'm gonna do a different video talking about my reading journey, but basically last May I began my last class to finish my bachelor's, and when I saw the syllabus I was like, man, this is easy. I can start reading for fun. And so I did, and I've read about 60 books in the last year. I think I read like 46 books before the end of last year for May, including It by Stephen King, which in case you don't know is a chonker. Anyway, but yeah, so this is my most recent finish, After Oz by Gordon McAlpine. First off, I think we should all say rest in peace, Gordon. 11/24/21. Unfortunately, it says that he got cancer here. Also, how tiny is this like now? You know, most booktubers put like this big old image on the screen, or they record their video in a professional sense. Me, I'm like, get your magnifying glass, it's right here. But anyway, sorry. After Oz, I watched The Wizard of Oz. I think I can confidently say I've seen it over 100 times. You know, on the weekends, my mom would just put it on. You know, it would just be on while other shit was happening. You know, house cleaning or whatever. So it was just one of those movies that would just be on. There's about 10 to 15 movies, depending on what time of the year it is. It would just be playing. You know, but Wizard of Oz was definitely one of those. I've watched it numerous times. And in 2016, I read The Wizard of Oz by Frank Baum. And so, you know, I loved it. I loved the movie. I loved the story. I think it's awesome how, you know, I think it was the first major motion picture to be in color. So, yeah. It's really cool. It's a big part of my life. So when I saw this in the store, I was like, oh dang, you know, like somebody, you know, I read the little blurb. I'll read this real quick. Kansas, 1896. After a tornado destroys the Gale family farm, 11-year-old Dorothy goes missing. As the days pass by, the Gales are increasingly terrified when the worst has happened. But when the girl turns up unharmed 4 days later, the townfolk breathe a sigh of relief. That is, until Dorothy herself relates her account of the events that took place after her disappearance. In vivid detail, Dorothy describes a fantastical land and its magical inhabitants, from a talking scarecrow to a lion to a tin man and a wizard and a witch. Her recollections are regarded as not only delusional, but also pagan and diabolical in nature, especially when the body of a local spinster is found. Making connections between the evil witch Dorothy claims to have defeated and the ill-tempered old crone, authorities find what they believe to be incriminating evidence, sentencing Dorothy to the Topeka Insane Asylum. So yeah, and it goes on from there. There's a doctor, Dr. Evelyn Grace Wilford, arrives at the asylum to interview Dorothy. She begins to wonder if Dorothy truly committed the crime or if something unfathomable has really occurred. Yeah, she went to Oz. That's unfathomable in itself, right? Anyway, so I saw it. I was like, hey, cool. What is this? All right, the price on it. But anyway, I enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.25 on Fable. I gave it a 3 on Goodreads. I put right now how I classify books on the 1 to 5 star scale and what that means to me for now. I felt, I liked, for the most part, I liked the prose. There were some good lines in there. there was one one little part where he described the Gales, her aunt and uncle, as gray and wizened. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool, considering that in the movie, every time you see the Gales, they're in black and white or gray. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But yeah, I do feel that, you know, the book is broken into two parts. I would have liked a little more depth of character in the first part. However, the saying, there's a saying like a person is smart, but people are stupid, you know, especially, you know, when the wisdom of crowds, as Joe Abercrombie would say. Yeah, so in this book, it just seemed like, man, it's like she was just banging her head against these proselytizing people who just, if it's not what the Bible says, I'm not going any other direction. Poor Dorothy. All right. There's an 18-wheeler rolling down my neighborhood. So yeah, I mean, she, you know, in her just being who she is, she's like trying to tell, this is what happened when I went to Oz, and they're like, bro, no, I didn't. And you're a witch, you know, oh shit, here we go, you know. No, I killed a witch. Oh, somebody died. Anyway. So yeah, I did enjoy it. Would I, you know, you have the Wizard of Oz and you have the other stories that I would like to read, and I actually own the second and third book that I bought. I don't know, it's weird because I read the first book and I don't know where it is right now. It's just a hole in my bookshelf. But I think a lot of people have accepted like Wicked and that franchise as a part of the Wizard of Oz world and canon. Would I put After Oz in that canon? I think so. I mean, you know, why not? It's an interesting enough tale. Maybe unless somebody does something better, different. I would have actually have liked this book to be a little longer. It's 232 pages. I mean, it's not really much to it. You could read this in an afternoon if you're really hunkered down. But I think there could have been a little more depth of character, which you get a little more in the second part, which is when the investigating doctor shows up. You start seeing a little more of the individuals of the town versus just the town as like a one hive mind. But yeah, it would have been kind of cool to see a little more. You know, maybe like 100 pages. I don't know. It didn't have to go to something crazy, but anyway. Who knows? I mean, like I said, you're in a town in Kansas, Sunbonnet, Kansas in the 1890s, so maybe everybody was kind of monotone in that world. I don't know. But if you're really hyped up about The Wizard of Oz, if you like Wicked, I don't know, I'd say give it a shot. You know, maybe just read it on your e-reader. And yeah, see what you think. If you've read it, tell me what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it down below in the pit. Yeah, that's it. It was alright. It's pretty good. That's what I got for my first book review. After Oz, Gordon McAlpine. Check it out. Let me know. Feel free to like, subscribe, please. I'm going to do some more book reviews. I'm reading fairly prolifically right now. So I'm going to go back also and talk about how I ended up getting to where I'm reading 60 books in a year. I'll do that a little later. Anyway, I'd love to have you on the channel. See what we can grow this into. It's not just going to be book reviews. I play music. I'm currently doing a sugar fast or sugar diet, so I'm documenting that journey. I'm trying to lose about 160 pounds. So we'll see. We're going to keep going on that. So I'd love to have you along for the journey. Right now, the next book I am currently reading is Siddhartha. I'll probably finish that either today or tomorrow. And then I'll talk to you about that. So I'd love to have you around. So look to forward to hearing from you in the comments. Feel free to follow me on Goodreads, Fable. Like I said, I do use both of those apps. Jeff C. based in book. So I'd love to interact with you there. Thank you. Peace.